sit back, relax. It's a musical chat. We can all get along if we just sing this song, This versus That. Hello and welcome into another edition of This versus That, where we break down artist to artist, band to band, singer to singer, whatever it may be, what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. This is your host, Michael Leopold.
You're so sweet, Bill. I love your dulcet tones. And that is Bill Forness.
Bing. All right. So we're just talking off camera about some of the about this week's matchups in particular with female leads, whether they be with band formation or solo, what sort of ensemble that they're with. Some things kind of got blurred lines here, but I think that a lot of them stand on their own, and let's get right to it. We started,
and it's all rock and roll. I mean, that's the one thing you can't deny with the matchups all week. It's all rock and roll. So
it's all rock and roll.
Good on you, Bill.
That's right. Okay, thank you. So we started out with two heavy hitters, in my opinion. Heart, the Wilson sisters, Jefferson Airplane. So do you want to start out with where our listeners?
Yeah, on my end, on from my page and that, I have a blowout. I got 15 for Heart to 1 for Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah, I got 18-3.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, those averages almost work out exactly. But wow, I'm not surprised. And I say that I don't necessarily right now going to say I'm going to agree with it, but I'm not surprised, Bill. For one, Heart just had more, obviously longer period of time together. They had a great run in the mid to late 70s, and then they kind of went dormant a little while, and then they picked back up in the 80s and had a big comeback, almost, if you would. Huge on MTV when I was a kid, in high school. Heart was. And I almost compare them, Bill. They're like the female version of Aerosmith. Aerosmith did the exact same thing, big coming out of the gate in the 70s, and then kind of dropped off a little bit, and then had a big resurgence. That was actually the 90s, I think, when they had their big resurgence. But anyway, this isn't about Aerosmith.
That's right.
Grace,
everything's about Aerosmith.
But it was hilarious because it seems so familiar. It seems so similar that I just couldn't resist mentioning it. But Grace Slick, without her, Jefferson Airplane, I don't think reaches the status. They don't go to the Hall of Fame. And that powerhouse voice, the powerhouse looks, her presence on the stage, and she brings with her White Rabbit from the band she played with before, and she brings Somebody to Love, which was written by her brother-in-law. Massive hits, probably the two biggest hits, the most listened to songs that they have in that psychedelic rock era that they were kind of kings of, that San Francisco sound. And but then it just kind of fizzled. And I don't know if it was because the other lead singer, the male lead, Blaine, I can't even remember.
Yeah.
But I as I learned more about them, again, they were fledgling until Grace Slick shows up. So, does that give her, and they get inducted in the Hall of Fame in 1996. So that's not long after the Hall of Fame was even set up that band gets inducted. Heart, comes in about 2013, well-deserved. But in the end, I got to give the nod. As powerful as Grace Slick is, I think I got to give the nod to the gals over at Heart with Barracuda and Magic Man. I mean, those are great songs. And then
Yeah.
they come back in the 80s and have These Dreams and
Mm.
couple of other great hits that really put them back on the map and kind of became a household name, beyond their the first generation that they hit. What do you think?
Well, so I'll go with a couple of things that some folks said, and of course we know that Hart just sort of blew it out of the water here. But Carol Weiss said, although Grace Slick was an important rock pioneer, Ann and Nancy Wilson are so talented and her favorites. I never tire of their fabulous music. Okay, and that's great. And so here's kind of where I'm at with this. And of course, Hart is much more closer to what I can remember for music out on the radio and that sort of thing. I mean, you touched on it. The album comes out, first track, Magic Man, 1976. Crazy on You is on that record, and 1977 Barracuda comes out, and then but it seems like Hart sort of does a bit of a dive. Don't really know what, just like you say. What I remembered most was 1990s. In 1990, they come out with that song, All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, which is a huge hit and a MTV video, rock star video. And I saw that and exploring some of these albums that they made in 1980, 82, 83. I wonder how much the producer started to come in and sort of fiddle with the music and start saying, we need to add these 80s tones to your music, because it's quite a bit different from the 70s, where they really had this Zeppelin vibe. Not only Zeppelin vibe, but the more that I dug deeper into Grace's music at Jefferson Airplane, they sounded quite a bit like Jefferson Airplane. There was quite a bit there that they seemed to sort of pull from a lot of the melodies. I mean, and man, that psychedelic rock in 1967, the album Surrealistic,
Surrealistic, yeah.
Pillow comes out, Somebody to Love, White Rabbit. I mean, all these crazy guitar tones, all this stuff is so psychedelic and very cutting edge, that I'm almost, and I don't know what to say, because like you say, a song like Barracuda, that lead song on a second record is huge. It's a huge song, and I think that they had some huge songs overall. Though I think that the sound quality of the albums, I mean, I even dug deeper into this Crown of Creation album, 1968. Man, I mean, the whole album is kind of a masterpiece. I mean, it just flows in and out of these tracks. They're wonderful. The acoustic guitar tones, all the electric guitar tones, her voice, the mixture of the male vocals and her voice together. I didn't think I would say it, but I'm gonna have to go Jefferson Airplane.
Dude, I love it. I like it when we disagree, because it just shows, the diversity of the ears, and same with our audience. Even though it went heavy on Hart, and I give that credit to commercial success. And you mentioned something about the that kind of 80s and 90s when they're doing What About Love and Never. All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, These Dreams,
Yeah.
and Alone, right? It's going to come up again when we talk about another matchup, but it's almost like pop metal. You know what I mean? It's like they took metal, they're definitely heavier rockers. If you go back to their 70s stuff, they rocked. I mean, Magic Man, I mean, those were heavy tunes and
Yeah.
very oh God, they just fit that era, and then they completely change for commercial success. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but you said it changed their sound, and I think that there was a movement, especially with females who were playing rock and roll, to go that route.
Man, you know what I did find though, and here's something a neat, and I didn't realize that Hart put out an album in 2016, and I listened to a little bit of it, and yeah, it's okay. I mean, her voice still strong in 2016, but 2012, I listened through that album. I think it's called Fanatic, uh, and just that title track alone is phenomenal. Walking Good, they did a duet with Sarah McLachlan,
Oh,
and that was cool. And then a real heavy number that kind of got back to their roots called Mashella, I think it Mashallah, however you Mashella. But it's real heavy and it kind of has that Zeppelin vibe again. 2012 they did that record. Very interesting. I give that one an honorable mention for sure.
well, that's awesome, Bill. Yeah, I think we need to move on. We've given a lot of attention but I love
Well,
your call on
they're
Grace
big.
Slick. Hey, no, this thing just flows. But Grace Slick, like I said, she's a powerhouse, and you can't ignore what she did and to get that band where it was.
Yep. All right, so who do we have next?
Oh,
We
this
had
is a good one. This is a good one.
um
Blondie
Blondie. That's right.
and the
Blondie and the
Pretenders.
Pretenders. I got it right here.
Oh,
Woo!
I had the same reaction, I think, with about a half a dozen people on my feed that said, "Don't make me pick." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These two bands were iconic from their time period, both crossing over about similar time frame. Probably Blondie got out the chute a little earlier. Blondie was such a cool vibe, coming out of New York, that scene, the East Village, CBGBs, when the Ramones are there, Talking Heads are starting to kind of come together. A lot of cool things happening over there. And you got the Velvet Underground in New York at that time. Some pretty cool stuff. And Blondie kind of finds this little vein. This band comes together with this gal, and they've got reggae and punk and new wave and even rap. They started dabbling in rap a little bit. And you cannot undersell the influence that they had on so many bands that came into the 80s that just took off, that whole alternative sound coming out of the UK. Blondie, without a doubt, huge influence. And then you got Pretenders, and for me, Chrissie Hynde is the quintessential lead of a rock and roll band. I mean, she has the attitude. She's a little snarky. She's got, a very heavy independent streak. There's nothing subtle about her in her lyrics or in her style. And that band her band had such a great raw sound. It was a shame that band, so many, the lead guitarist and the bassist die pretty early in the early 80s. And she even makes a comment, I think, at their induction, where she says, we've been a tribute band for the past 20 years because they've rolled people through there. But we say the same. She said, we wouldn't have been here without my bandmates that started this with me, but we also wouldn't have been here if all these people didn't come and help perpetuate and keep it going all these years. We wouldn't have had anything beyond that. So it was an interesting statement, but her longevity, I got to see her play with the Pretenders, her current version at Stiefel, was called the Peabody at the time, I think, but the old Kiel Auditorium. And I mean, her voice is perfection. And their riffs, for me, that song, The Wait, with the, where they hold the strings and in the intro to that song, just is everything for me. And so overall, with all the hits and all the songs, there is not a Pretenders song that comes on that I don't listen to it start to finish and turn it up and roll my windows down. I don't know that they have a bad song. I honestly don't know that they have a bad song. So for me, it's Chrissie Hynde.
I got you. So I don't know what it came through on yours because we didn't go through all of them, but on the this versus that and mine, it was 16 for Blondie, 18 for the Pretenders.
I had 10 for Blondie and 5 for the Pretenders. So it kind of almost comes out pretty
Wow.
even, though. I mean,
I'm
you had
gonna,
a, you know,
right.
and I'm not surprised at all.
I'm not
And the
surprised either.
funny thing is, most Blondie fans really like the Pretenders, and vice
Exactly.
versa. You know,
Right. And that's exactly why I think that this is very, very difficult to choose because I honestly, and I liked what you said about Blondie having I love the Caribbean feel.
mm,
Almost every record that I went through, there were like a handful of songs that had this Caribbean feel to it, and I thought, wow, man, and she really excelled at it, because some of the stuff like, so you said the Pretenders don't have a bad song, but there was some stuff in there that, like, there was one song in particular that sort of ripped off Elvis's. Um, Train I Ride, and I can't
mm.
think of the name of the song. And then her vocal over the top of it, I'm almost thinking she's going to do like a melody of Mystery Train. I'm sorry, that's the name of the song. I'm thinking of the melody, Mystery Train, and then instead she kind of like did some sort of thing over it that doesn't really make sense over this E riff E7 sort of shuffle. So who knows what's going on there, and the song didn't seem to fit with the rest of the record. But
Have you listened to their new one,
no, I haven't.
Hate for Sale? Oh
No,
man, it's good. You should
no.
give it a listen. It definitely sounds of the original Pretenders for sure.
Yeah, and I like some of it, and and so for both of these groups, when they kind of get into that, what you were saying, like the new wave, and they get with the real it's sort of like a real tinny sounding guitar. Um, I sometimes don't understand it. And I did get that, like, with both bands, they kind of like diverged into a few different things and were like experimenting with guitar tones, and it never really sort of like set in uh full on for any length of time. They all just sort of did that on almost every record, which was kind of interesting to me how they both sort of did that. So I kind of and even though I was at first leaning towards Blondie and thinking that she kind of had more of the interesting vocal melody over all these different sounding tonal instruments that they had, I think they both did the exact same thing. I literally I rate them equally. I think that they almost did the same exact thing, except I think Blondie early on was more disco.
Well, yeah, there's definitely a disco flavor that rides in there, and they pull it off. I think
I think they did.
yeah,
So maybe I'll give Blondie the edge just for that, because I think everything else pretty equal. Like they kind of did it equally. Maybe Blondie had a little bit more of that Caribbean vibe, but the disco that they did was phenomenal. That drummer had it down. He could do that really well, and he did the Caribbean stuff well too. So the drummer does it for me. No.
very good, man.
The
I like
drummer
the
wins.
harmonica. I see. I'm in the harmonica from Chrissy Hines. She could wail on that thing. So yeah,
Right.
again, disagree. I like it. I like it. This is rare that we're off to
I
a
know.
start like this.
Well, at first I flip-flopped because I went with Blondie, and then I was going 50-50, and then I just went right back to Blondie because I forgot about the disco thing.
The funny thing is, you've got, of the matchup so far, all of them are in the Hall of Fame. So I mean, that says a lot about A, the choices, and B, the influence, the impact women have as leads. I think
right.
that says a lot, and they probably don't get enough credit.
And there could be weeks and weeks of this, and there probably will be, and it'll get even more difficult to sort of match up,
Yeah.
who with who. I don't know.
So jump into that next one. This one, I wasn't surprised to see this one, and it's interesting. Why don't you go ahead and announce it, because they started in the same band?
Yeah, Lita Ford and Joan Jett in the Blackhearts.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
obviously,
Joan Jett blew her out of the water.
yeah, I think we both knew that that would probably happen. But I like what you were thinking here, because Lita Ford can't be ignored. She comes up at age 16 as the lead guitarist for the Runaways with Joan Jett, playing, I think, more the rhythm guitar at the time. And they do Cherry Bomb, and they break loose. I mean, they've got an audience, they've got a vibe, they got a look, but just from the get-go, they can't get along. That band's in two factions. One, Joan Jett and her group are wanting to be more like the Ramones, and then Lita Ford and her team want to be more hard rocking, and so they could never get on the same page beyond that first that first release, and they broke up pretty quick. For whatever reason, the world will never be able to tell why one catapults up and one kind of goes sideways, or you know what I mean. Lita found obviously a career and stuff, but never the notoriety and the fame that Joan Jett kind of found and led. And I think Joan Jett made the right choice for her, because the songs that I love by her, like Bad Reputation and Do You Want to Touch and stuff like that, are definitely Ramones-esque, right. Very influential, very punk edge. And that's the Joan Jett I love. That for sure is where I lean. And I agree with, I had a 10-1 on this one,
Oh yeah, this thing was like 24-10 is what I got on this side.
Now, Lita Ford does go on to do some pretty cool things. There's an interview with her where she claims, although she said she thinks he was joking, but that he was just interested in her more in her looks than anything else. But Robert Plant asked her to take John Paul Jones's place in Led Zeppelin. And she said, she goes, I said, "You're drunk."
Yeah.
So that was funny. And then she did a duet with Ozzy Osbourne that was probably her biggest hit.
Close My Eyes Forever. Yeah. And I thought that song was awesome. I also liked her, her sort of breakout pop hard rock hit, Kiss Me Deadly.
Well, okay, so Ozzy Osbourne's wife is producing her or managing her at that time, Sharon Osbourne. And so she's the one that kind of pushed her to do what we were talking about earlier with Heart, this pop metal, kind of said you need to kind of cross over and try to appeal to a wider audience. And that's where Kiss Me Deadly came out of. And then she threw her husband and them together and said, go make a hit together. Right. And they did.
And it worked. It worked. Yeah. I'll say, and that first record, I think, had potential going forward, but I listened to the stuff that went forward, and a lot of it just fell flat. It all kind of sounded the same, production wise. All of her melodies, her tonality, and her voice always stayed the same. No real, and I think the first album, maybe she did have some little bit of soul in there, but the rest of it just went flat. Where Joan Jett, on the other hand, no way, man. I love rock and roll. I mean, everything that she did, even the last thing that she recorded, I listened to, and it still has the edge. She's never lost the edge. So she's very much true to the style. She's true to her voice, and it's all catchy.
Great cover they did of Crimson and Clover too.
Crimson and Clover. Yeah, that was an interesting, very
heavy.
Like it was like goth.
Yeah, it was heavy and dark.
It was like the first goth rock song ever. So yeah, she gets it for me too. Yeah.
Right on. All right, we're back in the same lane.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
I wonder, and Larry Wallace said he saw both of them live, and he gives it to Joan Jett. That was one of the comments.
I have not seen either one live, but I would love to see Joan Jett. I would definitely love to see her before it gets too late.
Right. All right, and then let's see.
Hey, real quick, before we jump. Hey, you put up a great meme leading into this week, and I think I don't know if we've touched on this before, but Mississippi Nights. Did we cover that in another episode? I feel like
Nope.
that that was a great shout out to the people of St. Louis, where we're from, in and around that area, and what a great venue Mississippi Nights was, and what an unbelievable plethora of bands that played there as they were coming up, when they were smaller before they got into the next level, which was, after Mississippi Nights, I guess it's like the Fox or Keel, and then it's, stadiums if you get to that point. But what were some of the favorite bands that you saw there?
Oh my God, man. I mean, it goes on, and it was a dream. I was fortunate enough to perform there, and
Oh,
I recorded
really?
a live album there called uh, I forget what we called it. The group was called Clear Glass Religion, and it was when we were on a indie label back around 95, 96, 97. I think we recorded the live album in 98. Live Like There's No Tomorrow was the name of that record. And it was from Mississippi Nights. Yeah, man. It was cool. But
Nice.
I saw lots of groups there, man. Lots of old school metal. I saw Dream Theater, Creator, Death Angel. Um, I saw lots of groups, lots
Yeah.
and lots of local groups all the time. I used
Yeah.
to play at Kennedy's, and then we would run down the street to go catch whoever was going to be playing that last slot, maybe catch the
Mm-hmm.
last 20 minutes of their set.
Yeah, they had great house band there called Big Fun when I was dating my wife, that we used to
Big
go and
fun, yeah.
dance to. They covered all those great 80s alternative. They do New Order, and they do Pete Carroll, and they do, oh gosh, what that line, 88 lines about 44 women by the Nails. They did that song. We'd have so much fun there. But yeah, I saw the Smithereens there. I saw the Chili Peppers. One of the first dates ever with my wife was to see the Chili Peppers. I think I maybe mentioned that one at another time, but when we were talking about the Peppers. But it it's endless, the fun and the good times that we've had there. And they've kind of tried to recreate it over here on Delmar in the Loop, with the Delmar Hall, the same folks. And if you haven't been there, that's a pretty neat venue to see a show in, right next door to the pageant. So
Right.
anyway, brother.
All right.
So yeah, a
Yeah.
little segue.
Yeah, there were lots of comments, lots of people sharing all their stories about Mississippi Nights. Uh, unfortunately now it's a parking lot for
Yeah.
a casino.
Unfortunate. Unfortunate that my kids never got to see that place and see shows there.
Yeah, man. So next up, we had a couple of what I thought was just sort of interesting in the time frame, and one was a little more electronica than the other, but Garbage versus Paramore.
Yeah, both gals, Haley Williams
Yeah.
and Shirley Manson, both great vocalists. I mean, no doubt about it. Musically, for me, it's Garbage all the way. There's a couple of songs Paramore has that can hold my interest in that, but over time, musically, I just start to get bored. I don't know what it is, but it just, like, I was trying to listen to it on a walk the other day, and after about, I got through five, and then I just had to switch. Where Garbage, man, they've got some depth, and I don't know if it's that Scottish lead singer that brings it, but there's an edge that they have musically, and she brings a pretty awesomely haunting kind of vocal to it. I mean, when you get asked to do a James Bond movie or theme song, The World Is Not Enough, and I think they'd only been out, they maybe had Stupid Girl at the time, and the other song off that album is eluding me at the moment, but for me, it's Garbage all day in this matchup. I just, Paramore, there's something there, and I think it's her, but I think she needs a new band.
Oh man. Wow. Yeah, and so as far as I can tell, the audience agreed too. It looked like, I mean, it's 13-8,
Yeah, I had
uh
11-1.
11-1. Yeah. But I'm gonna disagree. I definitely go Paramore. No, I do not think she needs a new band. Her band is great. Garbage needs just new keyboards because I think that's how they write all their music is on a keyboard. Uh, there is no band there, brother. They're just writing on a Casio and yeah, I don't know. And yeah, her lyrics, stupid girl. Yeah, 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 it's pretty stupid. It is garbage.
Oh, in full disagreement, walking opposite directions. Well, there is there's room for everybody. Like I've said before, I'll even save room for you, Bill, when you come to your senses.
Uh, well, right. Oh,
Hey, that was a cheap shot.
that's good. I like it. Oh, it's good. Well, I mean, I can't get the electronica stuff eludes me to a certain degree. I'm a guitar player, man. I like
Right.
guitars.
Well, it's funny. Your origins and my origins, while similar, and you and I can have some amazing discussions where we just are right down thinking all the same things.
Right.
You came up really enjoying that heavy metal and that heavier side, that heavier rock thing, and where I came in probably a little on the lighter side, and really, for me, when the 80s kind of exploded for me in college, getting introduced to bands like The Cure and Depeche Mode, I don't know, it hit something in me, and that whole Brit UK vibe was in my soul. It just hit me. So, but I always like a good rock song, and I love a great outlaw country song, and I love me some Ella Fitzgerald. So, I mean, I'm all over the place. But
Yeah, no, I am too. I'm kidding mostly about garbage being. I don't think it's garbage.
no, I know.
I just think I think it's where that writing begins, and sometimes when I listen to music like that, I can't see where the writing is even beginning or what the train of thought is, and that probably has a lot more to do with me than them, because a lot of things that I begin writing with and that things I listen to, I can
Well, I
tell
love
are
that you bring that to the show. I mean, that's the credibility, just because you've done that. You've written music, you've written lyrics, so you have a level of appreciation where I'm coming at it. While you're a fan as well, but you're also on the inside, where I am completely coming to it from a place of love and enjoyment and real passion and interest in music of all kinds. And it's really what strikes me, what hits me, and then what was their influence, and what can I hear in this band that reminds me, or if I like this group, is that why I like this one? Or if I, you know what I mean, that I hear these things that remind me.
man, that was the thing I wanted to say too, was that there was a song from Paramore called Daydreaming that was a direct ripoff of Dreaming from
Blondie.
Blondie. And
Really?
and the more I listen to Blondie, the more I think Paramore was definitely influenced by her.
Well,
So
that is
interestingly enough.
interesting. No, I mean, and you that's the cool thing too. And I hope our audience recognizes this. And while we haven't really taken time out yet to do it on purpose, one of the things my hope is, as we start to do this week in and week out, that we start kind of talking about, bands we're listening to today that that maybe aren't in these matchups, but you might want to go check out. For instance, if you're a Led Zeppelin fan, you might want to go listen to Greta Van Fleet if you haven't. The things like that, I'm hoping we bring to the audience and give them little homework assignments to go check out music. I
Right.
have not stopped listening to new music, to, music that's out there. Sometimes I think people get a real, after college or young, they just stop growing musically. They just don't think anything good can come from their kids' music or from their, and that's just not the truth. There's some amazing stuff going on right now with bands, and you can hear the influence, from bands that we all grew up with and liked, whether that be the heavy metal or whether that be goth or electronic or whatever.
Right. Agreed.
So last matchup, buddy, who you got for us?
Well, we went with two folks that kind of have a bit of a pop angle and a rock angle. No Doubt and Pink. What's Pink's real name? Is it Alicia?
Yes, I believe you were
okay.
right. I believe you were right. Alicia Beth Moore, I think.
Okay.
If I got that right. And Pink is spelled with an exclamation point for the I. So it's like an upside down I.
What is it? What is she trying to say?
Well, you know where she got the name? She took the name from Steve Buscemi's character from Reservoir Dogs. He was Mr.
Oh,
Pink.
That's right. That's right. I read that. Yep. That's cool. And that's good. That's great. I love the movie reference.
Absolutely. For her to take that at a young age, when she was probably a teenager,
What a great film.
What were her parents doing allowing her to see that
movie? Yeah. So it looked from what I saw here, we had like 8 to 15 Pink over No Doubt.
I had a dead heat. I had 11 and 11.
Oh, okay. Interesting take on it. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, out of the gate, I've listened to a lot more No Doubt than I have Pink. However, the stuff that I have heard from Pink, especially as it evolved, her first album, when I listened to that and when I remember coming out, it kind of made me think of kind of almost a version of TLC,
right?
But it's a white girl. And so I'm like, here we are, are we going to find our own voice, or are we just going to try to sound like everything else that's being pushed out there? And again, that might be the record company, and the people trying to help her write. I think when she finally took control of her on the creative side, that's when she found her voice. That's when she found her legs and really started to putting stuff out there. And it got better and better, I think, as she went album to album.
She was originally in a trio like TLC
and Destiny's Child and stuff.
She was originally in that, and then a producer told her to go forward as Pink
as a solo.
So I think that solo was still left over from that sort of vibe. Yeah,
without a doubt, she's fierce. Without a doubt, she's got the attitude, and I don't think it's false, and I don't think it's for show. I think she brings what she brings is very real, and it's from her experiences and from her life and so forth, and she likes it a little raw and edgy, and I think that when she started bringing that in, her music got better. And then on the No Doubt side, now I'm a big ska fan. I love ska music. I actually hope we do a week of ska and at some point. But, the cool thing is they start out very heavy ska party band type thing out in California. She's with her brother and a few others, and they got the whole 9 yards, right? The sax and the horn section. And then little by slowly things happen. One bandmate commits suicide. Her brother gets a little wishy-washy about it. She's becoming what the record company starts to see as the presence on the stage. And so she gets put, so they finally form this tight little four-person group. And they still, you can hear their ska roots when they do songs like Spider Web and I'm Just a Girl and stuff. And that's when I think they hit it. I love her look. I love her. She can go from a kind of a total punk English punk vibe to a glam pinup vibe to, as fashion forward as anybody. Her whole style and everything brings something. Pink's got, similar kind of nuance to her as well. So this is a tough matchup for sure. But for me, today and every day, I'll take No Doubt with Gwen at the helm over Pink. But guilty pleasure here. When I exercise, that Raise Your Glass song, there's no other song. I don't know why, but that song gets me running hard. I mean, like when I always have that at the end of my mix when I'm running to push me that last bit, because I can pick up the pace when that song hits, and I don't know why.
That's awesome. And so here's the thing. And this is what I do like about this matchup is the fact that you've got Pink, who's sort of comes from this sort of troubled sort of home sort of thing, and gets involved in this trio, and it's kind of like you say, but it's not going anywhere. The producer has her get out on her own. The first album is still sort of the same. It's kind of like that party sort of record with a little bit of the R&B flavor.
Right.
She gets involved with a band much more heavily, starts writing with a guitar player, and look at how the songs start to come out. No Doubt, Gwen does it the opposite way. Comes out with a band, ska. It breaks down out of that, eventually break her out of the band. Producers get with her, and she's BANANAS or whatever that. Which, whatever, man. Like, that's not, and even the new song that's come out now is pretty not so good. And I did like in the last record that came out from No Doubt was all right. There was one single on it that kind of had a bit of a reggae vibe. Man, what was that? I can't think of it. I'd have to look it up again.
I loved Hella
It up
Good
or something.
I like it when they're a band. I like that way better than her solo stuff. I love No Doubt way better than Gwen as a solo.
Are they going to do, because I know the song that she put out just a few months ago, it's just her. So I wonder if No Doubt will do another. I mean, because the last time, I believe it was probably 2013 or so, the last No Doubt record was a single.
Yeah, no, it's
probably
been a
around
while.
there. And it kind of didn't do all that well. See, and so that's where it is to me. The longevity point, and I've seen Pink live, and I'll tell you what, to do that sort of stuff that she does live and continue to sing, I'm thoroughly impressed. All that acrobatics and stuff in the air.
Oh yeah,
my
no,
God,
she's a powerhouse, no doubt about it. And I look, when she collaborated with Linda Perry from Four Non Blondes on writing and stuff, that's when things started to come together. And then she did an album with the guy from Rancid, and you could hear some little ska buzz going on in that album.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think which one that was. I'm trying to remember.
Funhouse.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's the thing, man. It's like every single album of hers seems to have a different theme and a bit of a different vibe, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm like, what is the next album from her gonna be like? And I actually, I would think it would probably do pretty good. So the staying power, the ongoing, I think she's a bit more. It's a bit more timeless. I think that No Doubt is a little, is just a sort of, they got pigeonholed and they sort of stayed there, and it didn't evolve, and I don't think it will evolve. I don't think it'll go anywhere.
And obviously we're talking, trying to keep it, it's more about the lead than it is about the whole thing, so, but
yeah,
I totally feel what you're saying. There's something that Gwen Stefani, when she's on and she's right, for me, she just has me. But the more I've exposed myself to Pink and the more I've seen, I'm like you. I'm looking forward to see what's next, because what I like is she's not afraid to go out and try something new and totally turn to something different, and to find that spark, to find that edge that is her. You know what I mean? And that's what I think, she's constantly being true to herself, and that's going to carry her a long way.
I never even gave her too much thought until I think it was probably around 2005. There was a show that you could find that highlighted some acoustic studio. I originally saw it with Jason Mraz, and then I found she did one just with her and her guitar player, and I was like, whoa, hold on a minute. That she took those songs just with her and a guitar player and sat in a room and played them, and they were powerful. They were phenomenal.
That's very cool. You need to send me that so I can check that out.
I haven't watched that stuff in a long time, but I'll
and you know what? We can even post that on Facebook on our page, you know, if anybody.
Oh yeah. Interested. Yeah. I'll link it.
Awesome. Well, dude, another really kick-ass week.
Right.
Music.
We had a lot of disagreements on this one. This is great. This is good. Yeah. I was thinking, man, our musical taste can't be that spot on.
Right. And I like where it's headed. I'm seeing the participation grow from the audience and the feedback. And you know, while we didn't get around to reading a lot of yours this time because we had so much to cover, keep that stuff coming, because that inspires Bill and I, and it really helps drive some great stuff. I know the weeks, the couple of weeks we got coming up to cover are loaded. The 70s week, oh my gosh, the people came out in droves and really let loose with some great content. and then this week too with the punk rock. So looking forward to talking through those with you, Bill, on the next time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
So, hey, don't forget to check us out on Spotify. This versus that. You can catch us on YouTube, TVT, and you can find us on Anchor, and of course Facebook is always the first place you'll see it, typically on when we get back on track on Sunday nights at 7:30. That's always the goal. But as you can see today, you know, Bill and I are coming from remote locations because Bill's out doing what he does, and that's making music.
Yeah. Yep. On the road, getting ready to head to Memphis, Tennessee, Birmingham, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, going down to, South Florida here soon for you guys. Seeing a couple of weeks of South Florida.
That's outstanding, Bill. Well, hey, thanks for another great episode, Bill.
Yeah, man. Wonderful.
Hey, come check us out in a week's time, or, you know, a few days, and you know, keep that content, keep that participation coming, because we love it. All right. Adios.
All right. Adios, man.
This versus that. This versus that. Sit back, relax. It's a musical chat. We can all get along if we just sing this song. This versus that.